We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey, and I speak from the role of a patient, and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other host, Michelle Harvey, and I speak from the role of a caregiver, and I'm Mason's mom. And today we're going to be talking about something that we're kind of catching up on. It's been a while. We had talked about biologics previously on a past episode, and I think it was back in season 1. Right. And we didn't mention JAK inhibitors at the time because we were mostly focusing on biologics. And so I wanted to bring up JAK inhibitors, and we are going to rely on, we looked at the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, WebMD, Rinvoq, their website, Medscape, and GoodRx to find all the information we have in today's show, because we are obviously not experts. And but I want to learn more, and Mason gets to learn more because this is going to be kind of new for him too. So
something new.
You get to learn along with everybody listening.
Here like this. Okay, I thought
some input.
Yeah, I have some questions.
So, because it's a lot of just kind of like facts and information, but I hope this will be interesting to some of you who may be on biologics right now, and maybe something isn't working and they're considering a JAK inhibitor, and maybe you have no idea what that is, and I think it's just good information just to know.
Yeah.
So we're going to just jump into this so we don't delay it, because it might be a little boring today. So I hope not. The goal is not to make it boring.
Interesting.
Yeah, goals make it more informative and something that is, interesting to you guys. So we're going to start off with a reminder of what biologics are. And that is what Mason is currently taking.
Stelara and Entyvio.
Yeah. So ustekinumab and vedolizumab are the ones.
Biologics are like live, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll get more into that. And so, so Mason's on biologics. He is not taking JAK inhibitors, but these are, basically they are engineered proteins that are made in a lab. And they do use, which we'll talk about later, like Mason just mentioned, they do use living cells. And so that is how those are made. And another thing that's important is that they mostly block the chemicals outside of cells called cytokines. And so these are proteins that are going to be blocking cytokines. And so that's kind of, there's way more to it. Watch our biologics episode. I'll put it up here so you guys can watch it. There's a lot more information, and you can get all that. I don't want to go too far into that. Okay. But so basically, they are proteins that help cells talk to each other, is how WebMD put it, which I like. And that cytokines attach to the receptors on the surface of immune cells that cause changes that trigger inflammation. And there's 4 main categories of biologics. We'll cover those real quick. Just to remind you, there's TNF, tumor necrosis factor.
I wrote a paper about this. There was a part of my first paragraph that was talking about this.
Yep. You remember this, right? Interleukin inhibitors, and some, so each one targets a certain cell or cytokine. And there's more too. B cell inhibitors, I could go on, but at any rate, that's what a biologic is. So we're going to focus though on JAK inhibitors and the difference between these and biologics. So a JAK inhibitor is actually, so from Rinvoq, this is actually a JAK inhibitor. Rinvoq is one of the medications, and it stops the activity of proteins that are found naturally in your body. So
Interesting.
So the amount of inflammation you have, they say, is controlled by many different proteins that are found naturally within your body. Rinvoq stops the activity of some of those proteins, which are known as Janus kinase. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but
we're close enough.
It's initial JAK, which is JAK, to help reduce inflammation. So
that's kind of, well, it's not like a biologic.
It's not.
But how some biologics shut down white blood cells.
Well, they all have to do with the immune system, basically, and shutting down responses.
No matter what you use, there's always something that's going to make you immunosuppressed depending how much you take.
Like what we talked about last week, how that's what we were kind of talking about. How is it, which we can post that up there too, which was the new IBD breakthrough. And it's just it found another area of inflammation to approach. So
Interesting.
so that's how this works. So JAK inhibitors stop inflammation from inside cells. And there's a lot more to it, but so basically when cytokines attach to cell receptors, JAK enzymes send messages within the cell. So this sets off a series of signals that lead to inflammation.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yep. So JAK inhibitors halt this process early on, like removing a domino in the chain. So that's how JAK inhibitors work. That was what was described. And I think I'm going, okay, well, that makes it a little easier to understand. So here's how some differences in how you might take these different treatments or medications.
From a JAK versus
a biologic. Yeah.
Okay.
Because most of us are familiar with biologics. So biologics, you will get like a subcutaneous shot or an infusion in your bloodstream, right? So it's either like a shot or an infusion. For you, it's both.
So I get both of those.
Yes.
So...
And with JAK inhibitors, they are pills. So they are taken usually once or twice a day.
Are they not as effective as much?
No, they're actually very effective. Right. But it's just different. It's just they work differently.
Yeah, because it'll work for some people and it won't work for others. So that's interesting. There is a treatment that actually does work and is something that isn't and it's a shot for an ego.
The thing is, for some people, taking pills is a difficult situation. So they may prefer a biologic because you just get an injection or IV. You're not trying to take a pill, which sounds silly because most people would rather have a pill over those. But maybe depending on the age or if it's a child. And I don't know, JAK inhibitors, again, I don't believe these are yet approved. Same thing as the biologics where you have to get special.
But
special
for
approval.
adults, right?
Yes. Okay. And I do know some kids who are taking these. So you can get them. You just have to go through the process like
you just got to hope you have a doctor that will fight for your for it.
Just like our situation. Yes. So there's something here that says biologic drugs and JAK inhibitors can cause side effects at roughly the same rate. So that was something I was interested in too, like side effects. So about the same. And both also do suppress the immune system.
Okay.
Right there. So which again, we know because the JAK inhibitors are working with something with the immune system as well.
So it would be almost impossible. But if there was some way they can make it, well, a cure, obviously. But if there was a treatment or a JAK inhibitor that made it, obviously they work by targeting the immune system. It'd be so cool if they were able to find one that would work without making you suppressed, your immune system suppressed.
Yes, I think that's like the ultimate goal.
Yeah, because then you could go places.
But it's unfortunate with an autoimmune disease, and so they need to be more specific in what they target and shut down.
I guess like the only way they could do that is with a cure.
Yeah, or a treatment that could bind itself to the specific cell that, or whatever it might be, that's my term, that is causing inflammation, that is, stop that specific one that just controls the disease, which would be pretty tricky to do. But that would be the goal of it, is to just limit what is causing the autoimmune response and disease as opposed to shutting down your entire immune system.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Or whatever particular parts of it. So they're working on that. And some of you may have heard of some JAK inhibitors from commercials, which we just mentioned one, Rinvoq, and then there's Xeljanz. And some biologics you may have heard of is like Humira, Remicade.
I heard of those.
Yours, Stelara, and Tibia.
Yeah.
And JAK inhibitors, like we mentioned, are made from chemicals. Biologics come from living sources like animal or plant cells because of the way that they're made. So biologics can only have biosimilars. They can't have like a generic that's an exact copy, right? Because they are made from living sources. And it makes them very difficult to copy because their structures are so complex.
Because you can't just like replicate it.
Right. So that's why when they want to put you on something that's considered generic, usually when we hear that in anything, like most medications have a generic version, and a lot of times our insurance prefers it because it's cheaper. But when you hear of a generic for a biologic, it's not going to be identical. It's just going to be similar.
It might work a little better for you, or it might work a little worse.
Yeah, depending. I mean, you don't know till you try it, I guess.
It'd be interesting to do a test like that to see if the biosimilar worked better for some people than the main one.
Well, I think they're going to be finding out pretty soon. And so they had to be similar enough to where they could give permission to call it generic. But the difference with biologics and their generics and JAK inhibitors is they can make exact copies. So when you take a generic of a JAK inhibitor, you're going to get the same medication.
That's nice.
It's not a similar.
So would that mean with the JAK inhibitor, if you can have an exact copy, So if something is more expensive, because biosimilars are cheaper than the actual biologic,
Yeah.
which is why the insurance wants you to try the biosimilar more.
Mm-hmm.
If you ha- Does that mean the JAK inhibitor and the replication of it, would they be the same price?
That's a really good question. I would think that they would still be cheaper. It's always a generic's always going to be cheaper. So even some of like the prednisone and stuff you took, you didn't get like a specific, you just got whatever generic we were offered, but it's the
Yeah,
same thing, but
it
it's
all works the
cheaper.
same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And so some people will be like, okay, so if a JAK inhibitor is not a biologic, what does it fall under? So it falls under something called disease modifying anti-rheumatic drugs,
Hmm.
DMARDs. So what exactly are those? And so we looked up more definitions here for you guys. So DMARDs are medications that help slow down an inflammatory health condition and make it from getting worse.
Hmm.
So again, not a cure, which we know. They just
Help.
so yeah.
It
But there's two categories. So there's non-biologic and biologic DMARDs.
Hmm.
JAK inhibitors are going to fall into the non-biologic DMARDs, and biologic DMARDs include like they are injectables like Humira, something like that. Non-biologic DMARDs are broken down into conventional DMARDs and targeted synthetic DMARDs.
Hmm.
So conventional, and an example, so some of you listening, because you're probably at this point, you're like, blah, blah, blah.
Lost.
Like, I don't know. But a conventional DMARD, just so you can know, would be methotrexate.
Okay.
And you've been on methotrexate. A lot of you listening probably are familiar with this. And so that's a conventional.
And
But
so then I assume the targeted one, like its name will suggest, is gonna target.
targeted.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So a JAK inhibitor is a targeted synthetic DMARD.
Hmm.
So that will only affect specific parts of your immune system.
If that's better,
So
that's a lot
closer
better.
like what you were talking about earlier, where it's like, can we just shut down part of it, not all of it? So kind of like how Entyvio just targets the gut. And, so it's not affecting the entire body like the Stelara is.
But sadly, that's not enough for me.
Yeah, so you're good to do both.
Yes.
But with this one, that I thought that was worth mentioning because I think a lot of people have these questions when they are going to be taking something. So if your doctor's talked to you about this, hopefully that kind of helped. It might have been a little confusing, but maybe it helps clear up a few things too. I thought it was important. JAK inhibitors prevent the action of cytokines. There's more than 200 different cytokines, and about 60 of them use JAK enzymes. So that's why JAK inhibitors can be so helpful. So it's so interesting. I mean, it's not coming from a human or an animal cell. And the way that they're
They
so
can just make
biologics are so complex, they're so expensive, and
so you have to like have it in a certain refrigeration unit or whatever.
yeah,
This one you can
exactly.
just keep in your cabinet.
And yeah, it's a
Okay,
pill.
cool.
And so like for you, like when you get Entyvio, it's like a $42,000 bill because it's administered as chemotherapy. And when they do that, they have to charge you because you're in the hospital and you have nurses, you have, a whole series. And so with just taking a pill, you're not having to pay all those
You're not having to
extra
go to the
fees.
hospital. You're not going to have to drive there. You're not going to have to pay for being in the parking
Right.
structure.
So there's thousands of dollars that are already eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it just that way, it's already less expensive. So now we're going to move towards talking about something I think is just important, just kind of fun. But if you ever notice, biologics end in the word mab. Well, most of them.
Vitalizumab.
Vedolizumab, ustekinumab, infliximab, and those
Even in our book, we have pizzolizumab.
right?
All the doctors love that when they read it.
Yeah. And so the MAB ending, which is a monoclonal antibody, is what it is. And so NIBs or these are going to, or MIBs, but these are going to be associated with JAK inhibitors. Like Rinvoq, its name, which I did not know how to pronounce, but it ends in NIB.
Okay.
So that's how so if you hear you're seeing any names or hear any references to this, because sometimes doctors don't refer to them by their the well-known name. They use the scientific name. So if you hear NIB at the end,
it's the JAK inhibitor.
Then you're looking at a JAK inhibitor.
If it's MAB, it's either definitely injection of biologic, or most possibly.
And so NIB is the verbal shorthand. This is what we found for the word inhibit. So that is why, because it inhibits kinase enzymes. And then TINIB, so TINIB, is used for tyrosine kinase inhibitors. So you might see TINIB or just nib, depending.
Interesting.
So yes, I found on Medscape, which is kind of neat, is that they compare MABs to nibs. So,
Cool.
yeah, so we have like a MAB versus nibs. So it's basically biologic versus JAK inhibitors. So just, and some of these we've already gone over, but like I just want to do a quick recap at the end where we kind of go over these. So MABs production is cell culture, while MIBs or NIBs are chemical synthesis. So we were discussed, right? So it's a whole different process how these are made. MABs, like we mentioned, the generic version is
biosimilar,
a biosimilar, but for MIBs or NIBs,
identical copies, which that's cool.
Which is really cool. And I think that is something that insurance would also be very happy with, as well as the patients, because
that's kind of what I was talking about too.
So yeah, you did. You mentioned you actually already figured this one out before you saw it. So I was excited for you to see this. So MABs are sensitive to external conditions. So like,
I have to keep it in the fridge.
Yes.
Stuff. And when they ship it to you from UPS or whatever you get it from, they send it in this little styrofoam box full of ice and dry ice and stuff.
It's got to be kept cool, and you go straight to the refrigerator. It can come out of the refrigerator. They have developed it now where it doesn't have to stay in there. However, once it's out, it cannot go back in, and it has to be used within a certain amount of time. So that's helpful if you have a power outage or something. So as long as you're going to be administering the shot within, I want to say it can stay out for 30 days. And so we keep ours in the fridge just so we know we maintain that integrity. And when it's time for you to get your treatment,
we take it out and drive straight to the hospital.
Yep. And so it's usually within a 2-hour window that he is receiving it. And if you're at home, you can do it even quicker. Some people set them out because they think the cold may be a little more painful. So they let it get set to room temperature, and then they say the shot's not quite as bad.
Interesting.
So
they have cold spray, which is supposed to numb. And then if it's cold, it might hurt more.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Always interesting. So much science with this. And so MIBs or NIBs are generally stable. So they're not, pills, just like regular pills.
Put them on the counter, put them in the cabinet,
which is really be there. Like in this and the next fact, which we've talked about, MABs are subcutaneous injections or IV. MIBs or NIBs are oral. So both of these things. So when you think about how that a JAK inhibitor can be more stable, it can be taken as a pill. If you're traveling or if you are, it's easy to do. You just take 1 or 2 pills a day. You bring it with you. It's way more convenient. And so, I mean, granted, some people who are getting injections or IVs are only doing every 8 weeks, which is not bad.
For us, we're doing it every 2 weeks. So it's really hard to fit.
So you either have to, even if you're going to travel and you're going to administer the injection, because a lot of you do your own injections. Mason's doctor prefers for him still to come in. But most of you who do your own, you still have to make sure, you can get that safely to the location. You have your injection. And, IVs obviously are different. You have to try to schedule around your infusion center. So for us, it's a lot more complicated because he's on 2 and they're so close together. So that makes life a little different. So hearing that it's a pill, when it's like, wow, that sounds really convenient.
Now, I feel like the only downside of it, if it's a pill, I mean, this may not be a downside, but I feel like if you have an injection, you're only getting that injection once every 4 weeks. I feel like with a JAK inhibitor or NIBs, you'd have to take it every day.
Yeah.
Or more than every day.
Every day, 1 or 2 a day.
Okay.
And so like what's interesting to me, and I didn't find anything on this. I'm sure it's out there, that's information, but it causes me to think about so here's what I think. It's if you get your injection and it lasts 4 weeks, it slowly starts to wear off. And with a pill, if you're taking it every single day,
is it just constantly?
It's a constant. Yeah. So your body isn't having, and maybe it doesn't fluctuate too much with the injection. I'm not sure, but we do know with you, when you go over a time limit, you flare. So I feel like a JAK inhibitor may be more like stable because it is a constant and you're taking it every day. And it's not like you take one and you wait a week and then you take your next one. So I think that's kind of cool too. I mean, I'm not, cool. So the cool part is if your doctors discuss switching over to a JAK inhibitor, you might not have realized that you don't have to have an infusion. It is a pill, and that may sound wonderful to you. So, and the one last thing, MABs. So their immunogenicity, I think it's how it's immunogenicity.
That's how it looks like it's pronounced. I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't come to me to pronounce something.
Immunogenetics. I know it's immunogenetics. So immunogenicity. So they have a greater potential for that. And that's where your body can develop antibodies. And so with MABs,
So with a JAK inhibitor, there is no.
it says they are usually non-immunogenic.
So you can't build antibodies.
So they don't. I don't know. I don't know if it's impossible,
but it's less likely.
But it's less likely.
That's nice.
Yeah. So it's because it's different. And so that is kind of cool because for people with biologics, you have to worry that you're going to build antibodies up and you can't return to something because you may have built antibodies up if you stop taking it too. With this, it sounds like you could go off of it and go back on it again and try it at a later time or a different version of it. So I mean, that's again, this isn't my readings. We are not experts.
This is just our research.
But I wanted to do some research for you guys and find what's out there. JAK inhibitors are newer. I believe it was 2012.
Oh, wow.
When they were approved. And I think like for biologics was 1998. So there's more data that goes back further for biologics than there is for JAK inhibitors. So that's kind of one of the downsides.
Yeah.
But again, you're on 2 biologics and there's not a whole lot of data for that either because that's very new.
Still new.
Yeah. I didn't want to make this too long because I know we'll lose you guys. And I could have gone more into probably how the JAK inhibitors work, what they specifically do. But I just wanted to kind of do a quick recap because I know some of you out there might be considering this, might have heard of these, or you're seeing the commercials, and like we all do. And
people in the commercials are all dancing. And
they're so
tractors, farming.
They're going on yachts.
Yeah,
they're like riding their toilets to work.
The fun part is once you buy these, you can't afford the yacht anymore.
No, you can't afford anything. Oh my gosh. It's so messed up. Yeah, they make it look like life is great. You're gonna have to get a few more jobs. Now life you're feeling better. You
have to pay for life being great.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of cover something and go over it and give you guys, just a quick kind of like lesson on these. So you can take it further, do your research. Rinvoq has a great website with all their information on how it pertains because it's also used for other things, just like biologics are. Yes. They're used for like rheumatoid arthritis and other, I might even be psoriasis. I'm not 100%, but look up their website and you can click on, pick your disease and you can learn more about it and see how it works. So that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We are getting closer to our 1-year anniversary.
Yay.
Where we'll be switching over to the new format, which is every 2 weeks instead of every week. So
what we can do for the big celebration.
I know. We'll have to see. We'll see what our exciting topic is. We don't know yet. We don't know.
More about Crohn's. Maybe something about Disneyland. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? We'll figure out something to make it kind of interesting. Yeah. So that's it for now, guys. Hope you guys have a good weekend, work week, summer break, vacations, whatever you guys are out there doing.
Summer school.
Yeah. Or summer school. Yeah. You're almost done.
Yay.
Yeah. So we'll update you guys when he's done. So he's halfway through. So we'll keep you guys posted. So, all right, guys, thank you for listening. And you guys can also give us a follow on our Instagram pages at Team IB Determined or the Reggie Project. And you can listen on any podcast station. We have a link like Mason always likes to add that we include where it shows all the different platforms.
So just a simple clip and it's a simple little click and you can go find wherever you need.
Yeah, so you can find whatever. So because you might be watching us on YouTube right now wondering how do I just listen? And so we are also on like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts.
And there will be a link to all those from Buzzsprout, right?
Yes. Yeah. And Buzzsprout you can find. Yeah.
And there's a bunch more that Buzzsprout will connect you with.
And if you are, if you might be listening to us on YouTube also because they have their new platform.
Podcasts, a new thing.
Yeah. We don't get a whole lot of listens on that as compared to the other stations.
If you're on YouTube, you're most likely there to be watching.
Right. Which
if you do want to watch us, make sure to go to YouTube. The videos, and if you are watching us, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to be notified every time we post a video, make sure to hit that bell icon and please give us some comments. We love getting comments.
Yeah, we do. It's nice. So far our most commented video is our Disney Dash Pass one. So we may do another episode on that. I think it's important to reach out because a lot of people are feeling very discouraged right now, and so we may have an episode where we just give you guys some pep talks and kind of help out those of you who are feeling a little bit lost right now. So
here's a fun episode. Maybe talk about old quotes. Maybe something to give inspiration.
Yeah, we can put that on our because we might be doing a podcast like that. So it's a good idea.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Well,
with that, thank you for listening.
Yes.
And we'll see you
in the next
episode.
episode.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to apply something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.